Okay, so I am here once again. I have already recorded this, but for some reason the audio just wasn't audioing, I guess, and was unsuccessful. So here I am once again, unbeknownst to you people or whoever's listening. Don't mean to say you people like that. But let's talk about Andy Cohen. Andy Cohen, the triple. I never can talk, I swear. The triple Gemini who built an empire by never shutting up. Initially, I recorded this in two parts, but for now, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and no, I never checked to see if the second part actually was fine, and it probably actually is. So we're just gonna go for this and actually just do the first part for now, and then I'll go back and check and see if the second part was actually okay. Actually, maybe I'll do that now. Can I pause this? OMG, yay! So after doing some research really quick, I realized that the second part audio is just fine. So let's talk about Mr. Andy Cohen, born June the 2nd, 1960, St. Louis, Missouri. These are his placements. And this is a man who turned being messy into a career. The man who hosts a live talk show 5 nights a week, Watch What Happens Live, where he drinks wine and inquires invasive questions. He's the man who sits at every Housewives reunion and somehow controls rooms full of women who want to murder each other. And here's the thing that makes me insane about his chart. It's the fact that he has 3 planets in Gemini: Sun, Venus, and Mars. And this is not, he's just a Gemini. This is literally triple Gemini energy. His direction, his values, and his drive, they're all pointed at late spring. And then you add a Leo moon and Libra rising, add that Mercury at first degree in Gemini in the 10th house of career destiny. And this chart is ridiculous. And I want to show you exactly how it works. So here's a clustering. He has 3 planets in Gemini, 2 planets in Libra, and then on top of that, there are 2 planets in Leo. And when we look at the aspects, he has a Sun conjunct Venus conjunct Mars. They're all in Gemini, a Moon conjunct Jupiter, both in Leo, both at 11 degrees, Mercury in the 10th house of career. This is literally a chart designed for one specific thing: being the charismatic center of a communication-based communication empire. So let's talk about his Gemini sun at 12 degrees. Because your sun isn't your personality, the sun is actually your direction. It's where you're going. It's what you're becoming over time, the thing you're walking towards your entire life. And Andy's is late spring. It is in 12-degree Gemini. And so let's talk about what late spring actually means, because I need you to really understand the seasonal system. Because once you get this, the whole chart clicks. So Gemini season runs from late May through most of June, right? This is the time frame where in the season and in the nature, everything is moving. Seeds that broke ground in early spring are now spreading. They're sending shoots in multiple directions, connecting to other plants. They're circulating nutrients and information through root networks, because this is the season of lateral movement. It's not building up yet because that's summertime, which would be like our Cancer and our Leo. And they're not dying back. That's autumn, which would be like Scorpio and Libra time frame. And they're not conserving wind energy. That's winter, which is like Aquarius, Capricorn, Pisces season. But just movement, connection, circulation. Because the survival strategy of late spring is to connect, circulate, move information, stay flexible like a butterfly, a bee. Plants that can't adapt, they what, boys and girls? Die. And plants that connect to resource networks, they thrive, because it's the season of pollination and cross fertilization. Now let's apply that to a human being, because that's why we're here, right? Andy's sun at a 12-degree Gemini means that he's walking towards becoming someone who connects everything and keeps information circulating. Not someone who builds things and maintains them, not someone who goes deep in one area, not someone who stays quiet and observes, but someone who connects and circulates and who never stops moving information. Now, we can easily see how this shows up in his real life, observable reality. That's why we love it. If it doesn't fit reality, we drop it. We don't try to push things that don't work or fit or make sense. But for Andy Cohen, it all makes sense. He used to work for CBS News, circulating information. He was a Bravo executive, connecting shows to audience, or he is a Bravo executive. Watch What Happens Live. He circulates Bravo gossip. He's a reunion host. He connects storylines. He inquires questions. He moves drama. And as a radio show host, he had even more information circulation. And then as an author, he's circulating behind the scenes information. And then, like, He has constant press appearances, always talking, always sharing. Everything he does is about circulating information. He doesn't create original content in the traditional sense. He comments on content. He connects audience to shows and he keeps audiences moving and information moving. And it's like, this is why Watch What Happens Live is perfect for this. Watch What Happens Live to me is the purest expression of Gemini sun I've ever seen. Like, the show is a nightly platform for circulating information about other shows. He typically has two guests. Sometimes he breaks the format. I remember one time he had Shaka Khan, Patti LaBelle, and Stephanie. Can't remember her last name. And another time he had Paris Hilton, Kyle Richards, and Kathy Hilton on. So he does break the format sometimes. And then sometimes when he has a huge star like Mariah Carey, they will get that one-on-one stage with Andy. But for the most part, there's two people, and that's connection. He has that bar that just totally Libra Rising to me. They play games. That's the lateral movement. They take calls from viewers. That's more circulation. They discuss what happened on Bravo that night. That's even more information processing. The entire format of Watch What Happens Live is to receive information, circulate it, connect people to it, and move on to the next thing. And that's late spring. That's Gemini doing exactly what it is designed to do. And people joke about how Andy never stops talking, how he interrupts, how he has something to say always. And that's not a personality flaw. That's late spring being directional. Because in late spring, movement is survival, circulation is survival, and stillness equals what, boys and girls? Death. And plants that stop circulating nutrients also die. Systems that stop exchanging information, they get outcompeted. And Andy's sun is oriented towards constant movement and circulation. Silence feels like stagnation, so he talks and he has questions and he shares and he connects. Not because he's trying to be annoying, but because his direction is movement. And that's what it means to have a Gemini sun. You're walking towards becoming the person who knows everything, everyone, connects everyone, and just never stops moving. Now, let's talk about his moon at 11 degrees Leo. And let's revamp the way we see the moon, right? Because in this vein that I'm talking, I'm seeing the moon as not as your emotions, but as your nervous system, the way you regulate when you're stressed or dysregulated. And Andy's moon is at 11 degrees Leo, which puts him at peak, summer. So Leo season runs from late July through late August, and this is peak summer. This is what is going on during nature in peak summer. Is everything is at maximum expression. You have plants at their largest, flowers fully opening, fruits ripening, the sun blazing. Energy output is at its highest because this is the season for radiance, performance, of being seen at your maximum capacity. Leos, their maximum capacity is being visible, is their baseline, which is why they gotta shine. And that's why it's a season of radiance. And being radiance is your peak expression. It is your baseline. So the survival strategy of peak summer is to shine, be seen, radiate, take center stage. Even think about the fact that like mates and animals when they're mating that season, like the one that wants to be, get some moves put on them, they gotta be bright and be bold and be the peacock that shows the best. I don't know. I'm really bad at the analogy sometimes. But if you get where I'm going, you understand that is what the survival strategy of peak summer is. So let's apply that to a nervous system because it's not in his sun, it's his moon. Andy's moon at 11 degrees Leo means when he's stressed or dysregulated, he regulates by expanding, performing, and being witnessed. See, most moon signs, they regulate by withdrawing. A Cancer moon, they're gonna a Scorpio moon, they're gonna go internal. A Pisces moon, we gonna dissolve. And a Leo moon is gonna regulate by getting bigger, by taking up more space, by being at the center. Like when you're looking at Andy during the Housewives reunions, you don't see him shrinking. He expands. When they're screaming, he gets louder. He takes control. He makes it about him moderating. On Watch What Happens Live, when something awkward happens, he leans into it and makes it a moment. And he performs through the discomfort. When there's drama in his personal life, he even talks about it on air and he makes it content. And that's Leo moon regulation. When I'm dysregulated, I need to be seen and celebrated to feel okay. And so I think this is kind of like why he needs a live audience, because Leo moon doesn't just want validation, it needs it to regulate. His nervous system literally requires applause, laughter, attention, admiration, being witnessed. That's why he does 5 nights a week of live television. It's not just a job. I think this is his nervous system maintaining itself. Every night he gets a live studio audience responding to him, guests paying attention to him, viewers calling in, social media reacting. That's his moon getting the regulation it needs through public performance. Without that feedback loop, I think he would dysregulate fast. And I'm not sure if I talked about it in this one or if I talked about it in the next part, but he has kids. And I think his kids, because Leo, while it can be very bold and bright for everyone, it is the most bold and the most bright and the most generous to the ones it loves, to its loved ones. So for his kids, they're also going to give him this like sense of completion and fullness, because he also does have that private audience in a sense. Not saying his kids are like his, but even kind of better, because they're not his audience. Instead, they are his focal point. They are his pride and joy. They are his love. So all the attention that he kind of gives to the audience and he gets from the audience, he puts that tenfold into his kids, I believe. And so like that's why I think he's also an emotional, generous person. Because that's the thing people don't get about Leo moon. It's very generous with their emotions. It gives its feelings to the audience. And Leo moon, it doesn't hoard emotion privately. It shares emotion as a performance. Like when Andy tears up at a reunion, he doesn't hide it. He shows it. He lets everyone see it. When he's excited, he's actually excited. He performs the excitement. And when he's annoyed, oh, we know what he do, that little thing with his neck be crooked to the side. It's all his face. He doesn't mask it. His emotions are meant to be witnessed. That's how they complete the circuit. And it's not fake. It's just the emotions need an audience to feel fully expressed. And I think this is why he gets the housewives, because Leo moon is perfect for this job. Housewives in general are peak summer energy, right? They're performing, they're radiant, they're expressing at maximum capacity. In Andy's moon, it recognizes that energy and it validates it. No one can take Andy's spot to me the way he is. No one. There's no one I think that can replace him or do his job the way he does it, because of also the way he completes understanding the housewives. Because when a housewife is being dramatic, his moon, it doesn't judge it as too much. His moon goes, yeah, perform. I see you. I celebrate this. And that's why housewives generally like them, even when they're mad at him, because his moon understands what they are doing. And don't we all like to be validated? And so his moon says to their peak summer energy that I see your performance, I validate your radiance, and I want you to keep shining. Partially too because it worked for us. It worked for us over here ratings. And so yeah, basically like let's look at how the sun and moon work together. Like the way these two interact, because Gemini sun, it says I'm moving towards constant information circulation, and Leo moon says I regulate through public performance and being witnessed. And those are very compatible energies. They're actually adjacent seasons, because late spring flows into summer, so the moon actually supports the sun's direction. The sun, it wants to circulate information. The moon, it needs to be at the center while doing it. So the result is someone who circulates information through public performance. He doesn't quietly research and share, he performs the information circulation. And he makes himself part of the story because he is the star of the gossip network. And Gemini sun, it says I want to connect everyone. And Leo moon, it says great. And I need to be the celebrated center while you do that. And that's why he's not behind the scenes. That's why he's the face and he's on camera. His moon literally requires him to be visible and celebrated while his sun circulates that information. Now let's talk about your rising. So Andy's rising is at 16 degrees Libra. And your rising is not your personality. It's your entry strategy. It's the way you walk in the room, how you meet new people, how you present yourself initially. And Andy's is in early autumn. So Libra season runs from late September through late October, which is early autumn. And what's going on in early autumn? The year is starting to decline, but it's not collapse yet. It's more of a balanced decline. You're having more of a strategic redistribution, if you will, because energy is being moved around and resources are being reallocated. And the relationships between parts of the system become very critical at this time of year. In late summer, individual parts are important. In early autumn, the connections between parts, they matter more. So the survival strategy of early autumn is to maintain balance, to manage relationships, to be charming, to negotiate, to keep all parts working together. Now let's apply that to how someone enters situations. Andy's Libra rising means that when he walks in a room, his first move is charm, balance. He makes everyone feel connect. Everyone who meets Andy talks about how charming he is in person, and that's the rising. When he enters, he smiles. He makes eye contact with everyone. He makes people feel included. He balances the energy. He knows exactly what to say, and that's early autumn energy, being like, I walk in by creating balance and charm. And it's not calculated, it's automatic for him. It's his nervous system's first response to new situations. And see, Libra rising, they are brilliant at networking because early autumn is the season of relationships between parts. So when Andy enters a situation, he's automatically looking for how do these people connect? How do I create relationship between them? And that's why he's so good at connecting people and introducing them and creating collaborations and building networks across franchises and maintaining connections because his rising is designed to see and create those webs of connection. But see, here's the thing about Libra rising. It enters wanting harmony. It will delay conflict. It ain't got it to do. And so when Andy first meets you, he's charming, pleasant, balanced, and he's not leading with confrontation. But here's the thing, the rising is just the entry. It's not the whole person. So Andy enters with his Libra charm, right? Then his Gemini sun takes over. And it's all like, let's circulate some messy information, messy boots time. So then his Leo moon jumps in and it kind of like, oh, I need to be at the center of this drama. So the rising gets him in the door and then the rest of his chart shows up. And that's why he can be friendly and charming with the housewife at one event. That's the Libra rising entry. And then ask her the messiest question at the reading. Because that's the Gemini sun wanting the information. It wants the deets. It wants the download. And he does this while making sure he stays at the center of the movement or the moment. And that's Leo moon regulation. See, the rising isn't lying. It's just the opening move. And see, this is why he can moderate chaos. Because Libra rising is actually perfect for reunion hosting because early autumn knows how to manage decline without total collapse. Reunions are basically the system in decline, right? At this point, the friendships are fractured, the alliances are broken, and everything is falling apart. But you got the Leo rising that walks in with those beautiful crow's feet. I love that. I don't believe he has Botox or whatever on his face because I always see his crow's feet, and I love him. But that Libra rising walks in with those crow's feet and it instinctively knows how do I keep this balance enough that it doesn't completely implode. So we see him let the drama happen. That's that Gemini sun needing the information to flow, but he manages it. Libra rising, keeping it from full meltdown while staying centered. That Leo moon regulation, that's early autumn. I can balance a declining system just enough to keep it functional. So now, this is kind of where it gets wild. Let's talk about his Mercury at 1 degree Gemini in the 10th house. I think this placement is a little insane, so I want to kind of break it down. So, Mercury is how you think and you communicate. Mercury in Gemini is Mercury in his home sign, actually. This is actually where Mercury is the most itself. It feels the most free. Mercury likes to be in Gemini and Virgo. So Mercury in Gemini, it basically means that I think in connections and patterns and lateral links and circulation. So his brain is designed for tracking multiple conversations simultaneously, for making connections between different information, for shifting topics quickly, for never running out of things to say, for processing through talking, not really more so for your internal reflection. You know how some people talk to talk just like to get out what's going on inside. He don't do that. He don't need to do it. Late spring Mercury, it doesn't go deep. It goes wide and it connects across. So Mercury at 1 degree of any sign is significant because 1 degree is the very beginning of a sign. This is your pure, undiluted archetypal energy. And Mercury at 1 degree Gemini means the most pure form of Gemini connection because there's no other influences yet, just raw information circulation. So his thinking is textbook late spring, pure connection, pure circulation. And then you got the Mercury in the 10th house. The 10th house is career, public, destiny, legacy. Whatever your 10th house is where you're meant to be known for publicly. And Andy has Mercury in the 10th house. So his destiny is literally communication. His life purpose is to be a professional communicator. And when you put it all together, Mercury at 1 degree Gemini in the 10th house, it basically means the purest form of information circulation placed in the house of career destiny. Basically meaning I'm fated to make my career out of circulating information. And this isn't optional. This wasn't a choice he made at some point. His chart literally says your destiny is professional communication, and that's what you're here to do. And I think this is why this explains everything. Look at his career. CBS News, professional communication. Bravo Executive, professional communication about shows. Watch What Happens Live host, professional communication about Bravo. Reunion host, professional communication about housewife drama. Author, professional communication through books. Radio host, professional communication through radio. Every single thing he's done is the same career with different expressions, right? Professional information circulation. And the power placement is Mercury at 1 degree Gemini in the 10th house. It's considered that. It's considered a power placement for professional success through communication, because Mercury in his home sign equals maximum power. At 1 degree equals pure expression. And the 10th house equals career destiny. And the Gemini sun, this equals thinking, aligning with your direction. And that's what makes it powerful. This placement literally says you're going to be famous for communication. It's your fate. And look what happened. He's become the face of Bravo and damn near Peacock at this point through communication. That's destiny expressing itself. So let me get off that soapbox. Let's talk about his sun conjunct Venus conjunct Mars, which are also all in freaking Gemini. This is really rare, and it creates something very specific. So I want to talk about what each planet means to kind of break it down. So your sun is your direction, what you're becoming. Your Venus is what you value, and your Mars is your action, your drive. So let's talk about what a conjunction does. A conjunction, it basically means that the energies are fused. They operate as like one thing. Andy's direction, his values, his actions are all fused in Gemini. What he's becoming, what he loves, and how he acts, they're all pointed at late spring information circulation. So there's no internal conflict between what he wants to become, what he values, and how he goes after things. They're all saying, and I feel like I am like a broken record saying circulation and communication, but they're all saying to circulate information, to connect people, and to keep moving. So conjunct Venus, sorry, missed my slide. I didn't do this in the right order. So Sun conjunct Venus. So this is where your values, they align with your direction. What Andy values with Gemini in Venus is basically wit and conversation, intellectual connection, gossip and information, social networks. That's exactly what his sun is moving toward. His values and his directions, they're perfectly aligned. He's not being pulled in different direction. What he values is what he is becoming. And now let's talk about his sun conjunct Mars, because this is where the actions align with the direction through communication. That's how he takes action. Through quick movement and multitasking, networking, inquiring questions, circulating information. And that's exactly what his sun is moving towards. His actions automatically support his direction. He doesn't have to force himself. His Mars naturally acts in ways that serve his sun. And now let's get to the Venus conjunct Mars, because this is where his values aligns with his actions. What he loves and how he pursues it are the same thing. Again, information circulation, wit, communication, connection. He does what he loves, and he loves what he does through the same medium, talking. And this is why it makes him magnetic, because when you have your sun, Venus, and Mars all conjunct, you get someone whose identity, values, and actions are completely integrated around one theme. For Andy, that theme is late spring information circulation. Everything is oriented towards the same goal, his direction becoming a connector. His values, loving, connection, and wit, his actions, pursuing through communication, because there's no internal friction or conflicting drives, but instead it's pure, focused expression. And that integration is magnetic. People will feel that coherence. They're attracted to someone who knows what they want and goes after it with full alignment. Because see, Andy Cohen isn't conflicted about who he is or what he's doing. His sun, Venus, and Mars all agree that wholeness is really magnetic. And in Gemini specifically, it makes him magnetic through communication. His charm is verbal, it's wit, it's conversation. People are attracted to his ability to circulate information in an entertaining way, right? And that's what Sun, Venus, Mars, and Gemini creates. Okay, so I'm stopping here. We haven't even covered Moon conjunct Jupiter and Leo, which is why he's publicly loved and lucky. His Moon trining Saturn, his emotional maturity with authority, his Saturn and Aries in the 7th house with showing his relationship lessons, how all these pieces create the complete system. And I have some real examples in action, which is where I talk about him being a dad and that type of information. Part 2 will also cover the Leo stellium, the Saturn placement, and the complete integration and concrete examples of how this chart expresses through his actual behavior. I may end up putting them all into one piece, into one part, but yeah, so that's the first part of talking about Andy Cohen, the triple Gemini who built an empire by never shutting up, and we all love him for it. At least I do.